Like I measured the slab first. Well, that's only part of the story. If you only measure the slab and size it based on that, it's probably not going to fit when you get the new door here, because that doesn't account for the floor. That doesn't account for anything here on the outside. So you got to take a series of measurements. Like I said, I know I took more than 8 specific measurements, but I think I have like 8 or 9 sets of measurements I take, and that all is going to help me size the door properly for the new door. Well, the first thing I measured was the inside opening, which is the inside of the frame from this point here to this point here. Now I'm measuring the actual frame, which is from the outside here to the outside here.
Right.
And the reason I'm taking so many measurements, 3 across the top, or 3 up and down and 3 side to side, is I'm going to take the smallest measurement, and that's what I'm going to work with.
Will you lower the door like
a little bit?
Now that has to do like compensating the inside measurement and the outside measurement.
Yeah, that's why I got to take both measurements to see what's going on outside as opposed to what's going on inside.
Okay.
I mean, one thing I can tell you, doing this for over 20 years, there's no such thing as a standard door.
Yeah.
Because outside openings, inside openings, changes that have been made to the house over the years. Maybe they added siding, maybe they added new floors on the inside. You have to take all that into account when you're sizing a door so that the new door fits in properly and works properly once it's installed.
Yeah.
6 inches to the brick mold, and with the new doors, the threshold comes all the way out to the brick mold. So if you look out here, the threshold is going to come all the way out to this point here. So that is how much is going to get added across that span. So the new threshold is going to be about this wide.
And you can see all that wood there is damaged and rotten. Like that's all going to be replaced. And
yeah, that's all coming out. The new door has a composite at the bottom, about 6 to 8 inches up, and then it's also covered in metal. So there's no painting that'll need done down the road, and this will never happen again.
Okay. And that's all warranted if it does.
It does, yes. With the new door, I'm going to make this jamb a little bit wider so it comes out past the old brown caulking, and we can put a nice speed of white caulking to seal off the perimeter on the new door, so the customer doesn't still see any of this old brown caulking here.
You put that door, all this back, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We don't leave it off unless sometimes the customer says, "Hey, I want to paint before the new door goes in. Could you leave that off?" And I'm like, "Absolutely."
Because that's another good point. Like, just point up there to that paint line there, Jeff. Because when we get that new wood, because that's included indoors, that new casing, we make sure that wood covers any paint lines or wallpaper lines, or anything, right?
Exactly, yes. Especially wallpaper lines are especially important because with paint you can touch up paint. But with wallpaper, you
can't do that.
You're stuck with what's there.
Like you said, just to reinforce, you would put that casing back. You will before we leave.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd leave it off until I get all my measurements, and then because that way, if I need to check something further on the inside once I get my outside measurements, it's still off. And then before I'm done, before I go over the job with the customer, I put the casing back up. Okay. One thing you got to pay attention to is also the height of the interior floor versus the exterior opening. Sometimes this is higher, sometimes the outside's higher. Right. Yeah, we're at 1.25 inches to the hardwood floor here. And on the outside here, we're at about 2 inches. So the door sits down below the hardwood about 3/4 inch on the inside, down on the subfloor, and on the outside it sits on this brick row lock. Homeowners could have put 3 different floors in over the years, and sometimes they just stack them right on top of each other, and other times they take the old floor out and put the new floor in, but that all is going to dictate how high or how tall I can make the new door.
We're with Justin, and Justin's been with Energy Swing forever. He's an employee. Justin prepared the area. There's a drop cloth here he does on the outside, has some tools up. He put down his red carpet here. There was a bee's nest here. Justin just sprayed, probably give another little quick spray, just to make sure, again, everything's a win-win and everything's safe. Notice there's no metal on Justin's tool belt because, you're right there. A lot of times contractors, you see these big tool belts with this metal screwdrivers and hammers and measuring tapes and squares and stuff hanging out. And, all Justin's tools are right here. He's here for the rubbish to make sure everything's going to go away. Has a vacuum cleaner ready for everything we're going to do. And he just gets started. So we use longer screws.
Hinges, standard of course, hinges, depending on the size.
Now we're just extracting everything carefully, trying not to create any additional damage.
You guys are here. Is this the way you would normally be doing it? To be standing here. Now, was that just filler pieces that the last contractor you put the door in?
Yes.
So, because that wasn't a custom sized door.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so on the exterior we took off all the brick mold and all the filling, the inside the casing's removed, and now we're just going to run the saws all around the perimeter of the opening and cut all their nails.
The finish nails.
The finish nails, and then we should be able to take this unit out.
Okay. Later on. Like the shim we use, I can make sure it's level.
Yeah.
Like they're level in there, that it's.
We're gonna get there, but we're gonna. I can't wait to see
Well, at a glance, it definitely looks like somebody didn't take the correct amount of time to prep the threshold. We're going to level it right and left, and we're going to level it in and out to make sure it's at least even with the soldier course. And as you can see, we're down about at least 1/4 inch from the outside brick. So when that door was in, it was a ramp facing back towards the inside of the house.
So you're just extra cleaning everything up, huh, Justin?
Yeah, I'm getting all this dirt and debris out of the way so we can get some good accurate readings from the levels. Yep, so we're just getting everything out of the way.
Left to right, it's level, but front to back, it drops. So it's actually in like this. So we're gonna build up the back so it's even with the front to level that out, and then we're going to level the whole thing again with another piece of wood to make that level in and out, right to left, so that the door's sitting down solid on subfloor. The floor's out a little bit, so we're putting a line across here to see where we would need to cut it back.
The drywall. So there's a little piece of interior hardwood flooring that's sticking in from the drywall. So one thing we need to do is get that out of the way, because when we're setting the door to set it even with the drywall, this is going to prevent us from bringing it in that far. So we're going to cut this and get it out of the way so we could install it properly.
As you can see, this was the piece here that it doesn't look like much, but that was going to hold the door out and not allow for a nice fit. And whether it's tile or whether it's hardwood like this or linoleum or whatever, we have the ability to cut whatever we need to cut to make sure that everything's in a nice clean line across there, so that the door pulls in flush with the walls and with the floor. We're going to seal this up so that water doesn't get in, but say something leaks from up above the door and somehow gets in, this butyl tape is going to protect all the subfloor, all the woodwork below the door, so that there is no rot, there is no damage down the road. And as you can see, we wrap it up the jambs a little bit too, just to kind of create like a pan, so to speak, so that everything is sealed, and just another protective step between the butyl tape and the composite jam at the bottom and the coverage and the caulking. This thing should never leak around the bottom here. Sometimes you'll get into a house where it's concrete under the door, and you don't need it under the concrete. It's really not going to protect anything in that regard. So get it out, we'll check it out, make sure There's no dings or scratches or anything. This is just taking off the trim. It's shipped loose. That way we can get our screws in and everything, and then we'll put that back on. It'll cover up all the screw heads. You won't see any attachment points or anything. And that'll all be caulked and sealed as well. So we got those off all the 3 sides. We're ready to pull the door out. We'll get it out here and then we'll set it down and give it a quick look over to make sure nothing's dented or damaged. We won't be able to check the actual slab till we get it up there because they put this protective bag on it. And we don't like to take that off until the door's in place to help minimize any damage as we're carrying it. Whew. They are heavy doors.
I pre-drill the 4 corners.
Justin's just pre-drilling some holes here. So once we get it in, those are the 4 points we'll start with. Justin will be on the inside, making sure everything's plumb and level and the reveals are good, and I'll be out here putting the screws in.
We're gonna set everything flush to the drywall, check our reveals, and then check the plane and make adjustments as necessary.
So we're gonna test fit it first, make sure everything fits, and then we'll lean the door out a little bit and get that bead of silicone under there. Because the last thing you want to do is put the bead of silicone down, set the door in it, and then it doesn't fit or fit the way you want it to, and then you got to take it out and then you got silicone all over the place. Right now Justin's laying down a couple beads of silicone under the door. That's going to be another preventative measure just to keep elements outside where they're supposed to be. It seals off the bottom of the door real nice. And as you can see, I push this back up into place. The door fits perfect in the opening. You know, we customized everything to fit the way it needs to and be where it is, and that's all part of the customization of the doors. We want everything to fit like it was the original door in the house.
Yeah, it looks like they just used finish nails. We secure ours a little bit better. We use composite shims because over time the old wood shims have a tendency to shrink. We use 3-inch exterior drywall screws. Here's the composite shims we use. A lot of people are still using the wood shims, very popular before these came out, but they're always loose. So over time those wood shims are going to shrink, which is going to cause the shims to be ineffective. That's one of the reasons why we switched to the composite shims. Don, we started with our 4 corners for adjustments. We put shims in the corners. We're going to get 2 more points evenly spaced throughout the door jamb. So we'll have 4 shim and screw points down each side.
Yeah, yep.
So we do shim and screw 4 points down each side of the door jamb, the 2 corners, and then the middle ones are evenly spaced. I'm going to put 1 shim in the middle of the door with side lights and 1 screw going up through the jamb, and then we're going to use the foam the whole way across the top of the jamb. If you do have any settling or bowing of the wood framing, the header up top, that's one of the reasons why we don't shim and screw up top, because if anything settles, we don't want it pushing down on our door jamb.
Right there?
Yep.
The screws we're using are exterior grade screws so they don't rust. They're coated.
There you go.
Yeah, right now we're leveling this door from the inside. He's telling me where to be and I'm putting the screws in. You good?
Yep.
On each jamb, there's about 4 screws that go in. So we'll have 4 on the right, 4 on the left, 1 in each corner and then 2 in the middle, like spaced in the middle.
Start by setting the door. We put screws in the 4 corners, set everything originally to the inside drywall. Then we close the door slab and get very close to the door jamb and check that the gap from the door slab to the jamb is nice and even. More times than not, one wall is not in plane with the other wall. So then it gives us the opportunity to make adjustments. But that's what we're currently doing now. We started with the 4 corners. We're a little bit out of plane. We're adjusting this top corner to make sure the door is in plane, and then we'll proceed.
And what a lot of people do is they'll just cut the plastic around the back on the hinge and take the bag off. We actually take the hinges off. We'll do it one by one and get the bag completely out of there. Because on a door with side lights, you actually have to be careful not to penetrate the glass.
All the screws will come out if you don't use Loctite. I've done it personally on my doors, and I said cranked it to the point that you're starting to get a slight dimple in the door. That's never going to come out. Guess what? A couple months later, it screws backing out. So very important to use Loctite.
Justin's going to test to see where that strike plate needs set at. Then he'll set it, check it again, and then pin it.
Movement. So if I just put it on like this and put the screws in over time, this is going to move, and you'll be calling us for adjustment for service. So one thing we do is after we get where the door is adjusted properly, which I previously did, this outside strike is going to be taken off. We're going to drill 2 little holes on the recessed ovals here, and then trim nails are going to go in before the main strike plate goes on. And what those 2 little trim nails are going to do is prevent this back adjustable part from sliding into the house over continuous use. And then you won't have to call us out, and we won't have to come out for something so little for service for adjustable strike plate. Yeah, we still use the batten insulation on occasion, but the foam expandable insulation is just a superior product to fill every little nook and cranny and glue everything into place, and really makes it a lot more secure.
You can see the drywall sticks down below the rough opening. That's okay. It's not going to be in our way from setting the door, but by taking this off, we're going to be able to insulate it optimally. If we leave that in there, that's kind of interfere with us getting the foam up in above the door from the inside, because we have to insulate it from the inside because the brick mold will be on the outside and everything will be tight to this opening. So by taking this little bit off here, that clears the way for us to be able to get that insulated good.
So I'm going to foam around the opening, and then I put batten type right after I foam to keep it from oozing to the inside. So if it does expand, it's going to go to the outside and not going to make a mess on the inside walls for me. But to prevent that from expanding too much and coming to the inside, I'm going to top coat it with our fiberglass batten type insulation. So you have all the benefits of the foam. It's like a glue, fills every little nook and cranny, creates a waterproof barrier. And then we're going to, I guess essentially this is double insulating. So once again, the foam is more than enough by itself, but to prevent it from expanding inside, I'm going to go over it with this insulation too. Where the wood jamb hits the framing and where this additional filler 2x4 hits the wall, I run a bead of silicone caulking.
down because all you need is a hairline crack for the air to come in. On the left side that we shimmed, I'm going to foam in between all the shims, and then I'm going to put some batten type insulation just as another precautionary measure so the foam doesn't come in and get on stuff we don't want it to. And there we are fully insulated. So we have 3.5-inch casing, which is a little bit bigger than was up there, so we can cover all the old paint lines. All right, I just like to temporarily put 2 nails in the casing, the bottom and the middle. I'm gonna cut the top and test fit it. I typically don't nail from the middle up until I test fit the top, just in case we need to go out or in a little bit so we have nice and tight miters. So we'll take some measurements of the top and go trim that and see how we're fitting. All right, so the legs are on the top. I had to go back down to the saw 2 times, but I'm happy with how the miters are. So let's finish now. All right, that was an 18 gauge finish nail. I like to nail the front nose of the casing to the door jamb. We have a little bit bigger of a gun. This is a 16 gauge, shoots 2.5s, and I typically switch to this when I'm nailing to the studs. So casing looks good, the miters are nice and tight. I'm gonna continue with the threshold piece next, and then there's mullion strips that cover all these staples up, and we'll end with that. I'm gonna put a little clear silicone against the door and subfloor. So again, we did put this underneath the door to block any air infiltration. So we're just gonna add a little bit more. So it's gonna do 2 things. Air infiltration, which nothing should get past the threshold, and then it's gonna glue it into place after I nail it down. So this just sits on our threshold and then butts against our casing. And then I'm just gonna center it left to right and start up top and work our way down. And do the same thing to this side. Okay, mullions are on. Trimmed up here. See if we can get them back in. So this is one of the last things we do on top of the final caulking after the door install, and this is just an auto adjuster. So throughout the course of the install, to keep dust and dirt and debris and everything from falling in there. It's one of the reasons why we removed this last.
And now what I'll do is I'll get some caulking behind there to seal that on. And it just kind of glues it to the frame. So that's the first piece, and then let me go grab the next piece. So there you have that, and I'll finish the rest of it, and then I'll caulk it. No, this is just, in this case, it's just adhesive. It's for it to stick to the...
You put that across the base of the door too, on top of that mule.
Yeah. So I'm going to make a couple extra pieces for the coverage to cover up those gaps on the outside. And I'm just going to bend them out of stock metal that's the same color as what's around the door now. I got my measurements up there early. I'm cutting the piece to length right now. So what I did there, that's just some what's called glazing tape. It's actually used on the windows to secure the glass to the frames, but we use it for some metal so that we're not putting nails all over the place, and you see that. But that'll just hold everything in place till the caulking's applied and the caulking sets up. You won't see that white line there, that'll all be caulked over.
And
67 days. Like we didn't start there, we just said we're going to do this.
We're talking about.
Steve emailed it on this weekend.
It's Reddit.
So right now, as I'm caulking down here, one thing on this particular house is you can see the mortises, the joints in the caulking or the rakes are really deep. So I got to make sure we get those filled in so that the door's sealed properly. Because if we don't fill those in, we might as well not even caulk the door.
Be right there.
It was right around the time where my dad, we're not doing shutters anymore.